Welcome back. Let's get boozy with it. Today, I will be reviewing Frostblood by Ellie Blake. And I feel like for those who know me, you all know that I've been reading like contemporary for quite a while now. And I used to read fantasy and now I'm back on a fantasy kick. So maybe that's because of COVID and it's making me wish that I wasn't in this world and I was in a different one. But I'm on a fantasy kick now, so Frostblood it is. And I think I am getting a little too picky when I go to pick a wine because now I'm like trying to find the perfect bottle and sometimes it just doesn't exist. But today, it might be a stretch, but it is what it is. I have a bottle of Savoy Blanc. The whole label's in French, but I believe it's just it's a white wine, maybe a Sauvignon Blanc if I was an educated woman. I would put together 2 and 2 and probably get to 4. I have no idea. And the reason I picked this bottle is because it has like snowflakes. I don't know if you can see that. It's got snowflakes on it. You might not be able to see it. It's got snowflakes and we're reading Frostblood, so like it makes sense. And it is a 4.75 out of 5. Anywho, that brings us to our main character. It really doesn't, but I am making that connection. So now we are at our main character, who is a 17-year-old girl named Ruby Otrera, and there is something really special about Ruby. And that is that she is a fireblood. And she doesn't really know she's a fireblood at first. Actually, she kind of does. I don't know. She grew up with her mother and her grandmother, and they were trying to keep it a secret because they live in a place that is not prone to firebloods because, lo and behold, they live in frostblood territory. Go figure, title of the book, haha. So it's not good to be a fireblood. It's actually highly frowned upon and like very illegal. Well, some of the guards pay a visit to Ruby's village, and basically what happens is they kill her mother, they set her on fire, but firebloods don't burn. And so she's safe. It's not exactly pleasant, but it's not unpleasant by necessarily any means. So she doesn't die, and so they take her prisoner and put her in a cell where they are not nice to her in order to keep her detained, because as you can imagine, it's probably hard to keep a fireblood who can like wield fire and stuff detained. In order to keep her that way and imprisoned, the like guards will pour ice water on her and all sorts of stuff because the cold suppresses her powers and is like really like uncomfortable and not enjoyable for her. So that's what they do, which is kind of cruel because like cold in general is like extra cold for a fireblood, but then if you put ice in it, like now it's like really cold, like how my fiance keeps this house. But then one day the door like freezes, like all of a sudden like frost starts seeping under the door and like freezes it, and in come these 2 men that are cloaked and stuff, and she's like, you're here to kill me, obviously, because you're frostbloods. And they're not. They're like, we're here to save you if you like behave and stuff and you're gonna come with us. And she's like, okay. She finds out that their names, the younger one is Arcus, and the other older dude is a monk named Brother Thistle. But obviously there are conditions to her release. Basically, she is going to help these 2 frostbloods remove the Frost King from his throne, and in exchange she will get her freedom. So it's like kind of like a win-win. So she goes, obviously. Arcus and Brother Thistle bring Ruby back to their home, which is Fourwind Abbey, which is a home of monks who worship the frost god, whatever. There are so many gods in this novel. Like there's like a god that created frostbloods and a god that created firebloods, and there's a lot. It's a lot, but it's really good, so whatever. But anyway, that's where they bring her, and so she's surrounded by monks, none of which are like her, but she's used to that. And Brother Thistle, who's like this older, like I said, older monk, he is going to teach Ruby how to like harness and control and use her powers, which is something she has never been able to do because before her mother was killed and her grandmother died, she was told to keep them hidden. Don't just don't engage with them. And so now she has this guy, Brother Thistle, who's like, I'm gonna help you learn to control and use your powers in like a controlled manner, you know, like because you're dealing with fire. And we all know you're not supposed to play with fire, so whatever. Anyway, and so he's doing that, and Arcus is kind of just like, but some of the monks don't like her. So one of them sets a library, I think, or a building on fire and blames it on her because obviously who else in the Frostblood community can set a fire? None of them. They have powers of frost. The only person that can set a fire is a fireblood, and so they all look at Ruby. But it's not Ruby's fault because obviously fire can be set in natural ways too. So like, screw off, dude. I apologize for that outbreak. But Ruby was released from, or broken out from prison. So obviously the Frostblood guards are looking for her, duh. And so it's not too long before they find her. So Arcus tries to hide her. At this point, we kind of already know that Arcus and her kind of have a thing, which is super cute because he's a Frostblood and she's a Fireblood. So like, it literally physically hurts to touch each other, or at least it's uncomfortable, and they still kind of love each other anyway. So that's really cute. But he has to send her away because the guards are looking, and so, but then she ends up getting caught anyway, so it was all futile. She should have just stayed, but I guess a lot more people would have been killed anyway. So she gets taken away, and yeah. So Ruby gets taken to the palace of the Frostblood King, whose name is Rasmus, and he's like ruler of Tempetia, which is the basically Frostblood territory. So they put her as a Fireblood. She's gonna be the Fireblood. I can only think of tribute because of Hunger Games, and I contestant. It's not a contestant. It's not an award show. It's a battle to the death. They put her in a ring to fight to the death, and she kicks ass the first time, which is like kind of unheard of because there has never been a Fireblood victor. I'm like strictly in Hunger Games right now. That's how I talk. I'm not gonna apologize. Anyway, so she wins, and now it's like a whole thing because she's a Fireblood, and so she won, and like, but here's the thing. When she was with Brother Thistle and Arcus, they were explaining that in order to take down the Frostblood King, you need to destroy the throne that he sits on. Because here's this other really cute thing. There are things called Minaxes or Minaxes, whatever, and they are like demon, spirit, ghosty things, and they're evil. So when in like close proximity, they kind of make you mean and vicious. And anyway, there's a Minax in King Rasmus's throne, and so he used to be like a pretty like okay ruler, and now he's just turned cruel and mean, and he just wants a bloodbath, which is why Ruby has to go into this like arena. Yeah, so her job from Brother Thistle and Arcus is to destroy the throne. And I don't really remember why that was her job. It just seems like a really big job for one person. Eventually, she goes into another arena because she goes in there like every week or so. I don't know. Every time there's like a fight to the death, she's a part of it because like now the Frostblood Kingdom is kind of like, oh my god, how did a Fireblood win? Put her in again. Oh no, how'd she do that? Put her in again. I can't believe this. Again. She goes in for whatever number time, and she faces this component, and component? Wow, I was gonna gloss right over that, but I need to like back up, reassess. Anywho, the point of my story is that she faces this opponent, and it's Arcus. And so she's like, I can't kill him. And basically it comes to a draw, and I don't really remember the stipulations of how it comes to a draw. It comes to a draw now that I remember, because they're fighting, and then Arcus is like, Ruby, don't. And he announces himself to all of the people as the son of the former king, aka the brother of the current king, Rasmus, and he's like, I'm your rightful ruler, you will bow down and respect me. And she's like, what? Like, talk about a magician pulling a white rabbit out of a hat, but like then like another whole like pfft. And this is the part of the book review where I run out of wine but still need more. So naturally there's a fight between Rasmus and Ruby, and he's like trying to kill her. So she kills him, and the throne and Arcus shows up, but basically by the end of it, Rasmus is gone, Arcus is king, and the throne is dead. It's obliterated. It's no longer. The Minax is free and tells Ruby that she's the rightful heir or whatever. And that is where Frostblood ends. So here is the breakdown. Cover design is going to get a 3.75 because I love the simplicity and the crispness of it. I love the blood that's dripping down because obviously a lot of blood has been spilt in this book. Characters are going to get a 4. I love Ruby. Ruby is cute, she's endearing, and she's also kind of feisty and sassy, and if you ask any of my family members, my middle name was Sass when I was growing up, and it's still Sass. So Arcus is awesome. I love Arcus. Does it change throughout the series? Kind of. Don't tell anyone. I'm on the opposing side of this whole thing. Brother Thistle's really nice. Brother Gamut. I love his character because all he does is make tea. Like, plot is going to get a 4.5 out of 5 because you have Firebloods and Frostbloods, i.e. Ruby and Arcus, and they are nothing alike, but they mesh. And it kind of also reminds me of a little bit of like The Last Airbender with like the fire, water. I like it. It's great. Ending is also a 4.5 because you find out that Arcus is actually the rightful king, and then Ruby kills Rasmus and also wrecks his and destroys the throne and releases the Minax, and so much happens at the ending. The book drop is a 3.5 out of 5 because it's good. In my opinion, it's when you find out that Arcus is the king of, you know, Tempetia, which you did not expect. So it's good, but it's a 3.5 because like I feel like I kind of predicted it, which gives Frostblood by Ellie Blake a 4.05 out of 5, which is like 0.05 away from being spot on for my Goodreads rating. So I gave it a 4 on Goodreads. I'm giving it a 4.05 now, but basically a 4 now. It was really good. It was a really fast read. I loved the series as a whole. Highly recommend. Well, my friends, that is the end of Frostblood. Stay boozy, my friends, and I will see you next time.